If you think May is too late to start gardening, you might be making the biggest mistake of the growing season. Because right now, while most people are waiting, overthinking, or planting the wrong crops, smart gardeners are putting these plants into the ground and setting themselves up for months of huge harvests, explosive growth, and gardens that look completely alive by summer. And here's the crazy part. Some of the best performing plants of the entire year are actually the ones planted in May. They love the warming soil. They grow faster. They establish stronger roots. And many of them produce heavily with surprisingly little effort. But if you wait too long, you can miss the sweet spot completely. So in this video, I'm going to show you 10 plants you absolutely should not miss planting in May, including fast growers, heavy producers, beginner-friendly crops, and a few plants that most gardeners seriously underestimate. And make sure you stay until the end, because the final plants on this list can completely transform your garden through summer. Let's get started. Plant number 1, tomatoes. Let's start with the king of the summer garden. Tomatoes. May is one of the best times to plant tomatoes because the soil has finally started warming up properly. And tomatoes absolutely hate cold soil. When planted too early, they often sit there struggling, turning yellow, or growing painfully slowly. But in May, everything changes. The warmth wakes them up. Their roots spread faster. Their growth becomes aggressive. And suddenly, those tiny plants start looking like they're trying to take over the garden. One mistake many beginners make is planting tomatoes too close together. At first, the spacing looks excessive, but later the plants become crowded jungles with poor airflow, more disease, and smaller harvests. Give them room. Another major mistake is shallow planting. Tomatoes are one of the few plants that actually benefit from being planted deep. Every buried section of stem can grow roots, creating stronger plants capable of absorbing more water and nutrients. And if you want truly productive tomatoes, don't just focus on watering. Consistency matters more than quantity. A tomato plant that goes from dry soil to soaking wet repeatedly is far more likely to crack fruits, develop blossom end rot, and become stressed. Steady moisture wins every time. Also, don't underestimate support. Tiny tomato seedlings don't look dangerous at first, but a healthy tomato plant can become huge within weeks. Stakes, cages, or trellises installed early save massive headaches later. And once summer arrives, a properly planted May tomato can reward you with harvest after harvest after harvest. Plant number 2, peppers. Peppers are another plant that truly shines in May. In fact, many gardeners struggle with peppers simply because they plant them too early. Peppers love heat even more than tomatoes do. Cold weather doesn't just slow them down, it can completely stunt them for weeks. But May gives peppers the warm conditions they crave. Sweet peppers, bell peppers, hot peppers, chili peppers. This is when they finally begin growing confidently. One thing many people don't realize is that peppers prefer slightly less water than tomatoes. Overwatering peppers can lead to weak roots and reduced production. And sunlight? Peppers want as much as possible. The more sun they receive, the stronger their growth and fruit production usually becomes. Another huge secret with peppers is patience. Early in the season, peppers often seem slow compared to other plants. Some gardeners panic and think something is wrong. Then suddenly summer heat arrives, and the plants explode with growth almost overnight. That's why May planting works so well. You're giving peppers the exact seasonal transition they love. And if you keep harvesting regularly, many pepper plants will continue producing for months. Plant number 3, cucumbers. If you want fast results in the garden, cucumbers are one of the most satisfying plants you can grow. And May is practically perfect for them. Warm soil helps cucumber seeds germinate quickly, and once they start growing, they move fast. Very fast. 1 week you see small vines. A few weeks later it feels like the plant is trying to climb everything in sight. But here's something important. Cucumbers hate having their roots disturbed. That's why many gardeners prefer direct sowing cucumber seeds straight into the garden during May instead of transplanting older seedlings. And if you really want healthier cucumbers, grow them vertically. Trellising improves airflow, reduces disease problems, keeps fruits cleaner, and makes harvesting much easier. Another common mistake is inconsistent watering. Cucumbers are mostly water, so uneven watering often leads to bitter fruits or poor development. Steady moisture is key. Also, harvesting regularly encourages more production. If oversized cucumbers stay on the vine too long, the plant starts slowing down because it thinks its job is done. The more you harvest, the more it keeps producing. And honestly, there are few things more satisfying than walking outside during summer and finding fresh cucumbers hanging everywhere. Plant number 4, zucchini. Zucchini might be one of the most productive plants you can grow in May. Seriously, one healthy zucchini plant can sometimes produce more than an entire family expects. And that's exactly why experienced gardeners joke about secretly leaving zucchini on neighbors' porches during summer. Because the harvest can become unbelievable. Zucchini loves warmth, rich soil, and consistent watering. Once May temperatures settle in, these plants often grow at an incredible speed. But spacing matters a lot. Crowded zucchini plants become disease magnets because airflow decreases dramatically around the leaves. Another huge mistake is harvesting too late. Many beginners wait for giant zucchini because bigger seems better. Usually it's the opposite. Smaller zucchini are often more tender, flavorful, and productive for the plant overall. And if you keep harvesting young fruits regularly, the plant stays in production mode much longer. One more important thing. Pollination matters. If flowers appear but fruits shrivel and die, poor pollination could be the problem. Bees and pollinators play a huge role in zucchini success. That's why planting flowers nearby can actually improve harvests. And when zucchini starts producing properly, you'll understand why gardeners plant it year after year. Plant number 5. Beans. Beans are one of the easiest and most rewarding crops to plant in May. They grow quickly. They germinate fast in warm soil. And they make gardeners feel successful very early in the season. There are 2 main types most people grow: bush beans and pole beans. Bush beans stay compact and mature relatively quickly. Pole beans climb aggressively and can continue producing for a much longer time if supported properly. May conditions are ideal because beans dislike cold, wet soil. Planting too early often causes seeds to rot before they even sprout. But once the warmth arrives, beans take off. One fascinating thing about beans is that they actually help improve soil health by fixing nitrogen. So they're not just feeding you, they're feeding the soil too. Another reason beans are fantastic for beginners is how satisfying the harvest feels. You plant simple seeds, and before long you're picking handfuls of fresh beans straight from the garden. And the more frequently you harvest, the more the plants usually produce. Beans are proof that gardening doesn't always have to be complicated to be rewarding. Plant number 6, basil. Basil and warm weather go together perfectly. This is not a plant that enjoys cold conditions. But once May warmth arrives, basil finally begins thriving instead of merely surviving. And one of the best things about basil is how rewarding it feels almost immediately. The smell alone makes the garden feel alive. Now here's a major secret many beginners miss. Never let basil fully focus on flowering too early. The moment basil starts producing flowers heavily, leaf production usually slows down and flavor can change. That's why regular harvesting actually improves the plant. Pinching the tops encourages bushier growth and more leaves. And basil grows beautifully alongside tomatoes, which is why so many gardeners pair them together. Plus, fresh basil is one of those plants that instantly makes people feel like they're growing a real summer garden. Plant number 7, watermelon. If you have space, May is an amazing time to plant watermelon. Watermelons absolutely love heat. The warmer the weather becomes, the happier they usually are. But watermelons require patience. At first, they may not seem impressive. Then suddenly the vines start spreading aggressively across the garden. And later, huge fruits begin forming seemingly out of nowhere. One thing many people underestimate is how much space watermelons truly need. These plants are not small. Another key factor is sunlight. Watermelons want full, intense sun for the best sweetness and fruit development. And watering changes as fruits mature. Steady moisture early on helps growth, but excessive watering near harvest time can sometimes reduce sweetness. A properly grown watermelon harvested during peak summer feels incredibly rewarding because it represents weeks of successful gardening coming together perfectly. Plant number 8, okra. Okra is one of the most heat-loving plants you can grow. In fact, many crops begin struggling in intense summer heat while okra continues growing confidently. That's why May planting works so well. Warm soil allows okra to establish properly before the hottest part of the season arrives. One thing gardeners quickly learn about okra is that harvesting regularly is extremely important. Young pods are tender and delicious. But if pods stay on the plant too long, they become tough very quickly. And here's something many people love about okra. It's surprisingly resilient. Heat? Fine. Strong sun? Fine. Summer conditions that stress other plants? Okra keeps going. That makes it a fantastic choice for gardeners dealing with very hot climates. And once production begins, okra can keep producing steadily for a long time. Plant number 9. Sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes are one of the smartest May crops for gardeners who want a low-maintenance but highly rewarding plant. These plants thrive in warmth and absolutely hate frost, which makes May an ideal planting time. And unlike some crops that demand constant attention, sweet potatoes can be surprisingly forgiving once established. Their vines spread beautifully across the ground, helping suppress weeds naturally. But one important thing to remember is this. Too much nitrogen can actually produce massive leafy vines with fewer potatoes underground. Balance matters. Another interesting thing about sweet potatoes is that patience is everything. For weeks it may look like nothing exciting is happening. Meanwhile, underground, the real magic is slowly developing. Then harvest season arrives, and suddenly you're pulling huge sweet potatoes out of the soil like buried treasure. It's one of the most satisfying gardening moments there is. Plant number 10, sunflowers. And finally, sunflowers. Because not every plant in the garden needs to be purely practical. Sometimes you need something dramatic, something joyful, something that instantly makes the entire space feel alive. And sunflowers do exactly that. May is one of the best times to plant them because the warming soil allows quick germination and rapid growth. Some sunflower varieties stay compact. Others grow unbelievably tall, towering above fences, gardens, and even rooftops. And beyond beauty, sunflowers are incredibly useful. They attract pollinators. They support birds. And they bring movement and energy into the garden. One of the best things about sunflowers is watching their transformation. Tiny seed, small sprout, then suddenly a giant plant reaching toward the sky. And honestly, few plants capture the feeling of summer better than sunflowers do. So those are 10 plants you absolutely should not miss planting in May if you want a productive, beautiful, and rewarding garden this season. And here's the truth. Gardening success is often less about perfection and more about timing. Planting the right crops at the right moment can completely change your results. So if you've been waiting to start, this is your sign. Get those plants in the ground. Because a few weeks from now, you'll either be watching your garden explode with growth, or wishing you had started earlier. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications because there's a lot more gardening content coming soon. And in the comments, let me know, which plant are you most excited to grow this May? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.